the spiritual factor, which I think you touch on your blog. I think this is important, and history is a testament to the power that an outgunned nation can have when they possess a strong will to survive
Hmm.
annihilation. Because it's always the soldiers of the invading force have less of a real spiritual mission than those that are defending their nation. And Napoleon attempted to subjugate Russia in the 19th century, and Russia would have none of it. Hitler in the 20th century, and Russia almost single-handedly perhaps won World War II. And now in the 21st century, the American war machine is targeting Mother Russia, and Russians in Russia have personally told me in tears that they do not want a war. I remember an older woman who told me she lost, two or three family members in the Great Patriotic War, World War II, and she said that they don't want war, but they will defend their country if the United States or NATO invades, and they will, kill me or kill you, the foreigner, the foreign invader, and so on. So, what can you say about this spiritual factor in Russia?
Oh, it's absolutely crucial. Um, Russia has undergone a tremendous change over the past decades. I mean, remember when communism fell in 1991, the Russians were, the symbol for me was the Russian long queue standing on Pushkin Square to McDonald's to get a Big Mac. And that sort of was what Russia was all about, unfortunately, in the early 1990s. A lot has changed since. First of all, there was the horror of the 1990s. The Russians really felt what it is to be a U.S. colony. Furthermore, the Ukraine exploded, and what's going on there is another horror. And the Russian psyche just bounced back very hard. I always see the same thing. The Russians are afraid. The difference between Russians and the Westerners is Russians are afraid of war. Westerners are not, but Westerners are not prepared for war. Russians are. And the reason why Westerners are not afraid of war is they don't understand it. They don't understand what would really happen, how horrible it would be. Russians do. You're absolutely correct. But they will also fight with everything they have. I have no doubt in my mind whatsoever. And the Russians have been retreating all over the place. I mean, there's been essentially a strategic retreat of Russia going on for years, and now there's nowhere to retreat. So they're on top of that, they're cornered. So at this point, you're cornering a very, very dangerous bear. And that bear is fully willing to fight. I mean, the biggest difference that would be is for instance, if you just watch Russian TV, the discussion about a potential war is happening on almost daily basis. In talk shows, in articles, in analyses, it's the big topic. Will there be war or not? And the state has actually been preparing for years. There have been specific, actions such as the recreation of tank armies is one of them, the doubling of the size of the airborne forces. I mean, Russia's been proactively preparing for war, I would say at least since 2014 and even before. And they're getting pretty ready. And why? Because they do feel that there's a threat against them. That's the other big difference. We live in a world where all that U.S. propaganda and all the Russophobia is received in Russia and shown on Russian TV, and the Russians are acutely aware of it. They don't even need to speak English. The craziest Russophobic statements will be translated in Russian or subtitled. So they know very well what's looking at them, and they know it's not a friendly neighbor that they're seeing. So I think it plays a crucial role because, Russia will fight if God forbid a war starts, the Russians will fight with a violence and a determination that is, quite literally unthinkable in the West. I don't think anybody in the West understands and has a measure of the kind of willpower that Russian soldiers will have in defense of their motherland.